You ever get one of those amazing ideas for an image? It just flashes in your head, and then poof, it's gone? Because you're nowhere near a powerful computer? Well, what if the tool to catch that lightning in a bottle wasn't on your desk, but was already right here, in your pocket? So picture this. You snap a photo of a cat, right? Then you just type a few words. Let the cat wear sunglasses, and boom, instant cool. No clunky software, no fiddling with menus, just you and your idea. Or maybe you find this photo of a super serious octopus, and you just think, you know what? Make this octopus laugh. And a second later, you get this, pure, unadulterated joy. This is the kind of instant, almost magical creativity we're going to get into today. For years, this has been the big dream, right? Powerful, totally seamless creativity that you can use on the go. And that really gets to the heart of it. Why can't we just talk to our phones, tell them what we want to see, and just have it appear? Whether we're making something from scratch or just tweaking a photo we took like 2 seconds ago. Well, for the longest time, the answer has always come down to one absolutely massive roadblock. Let's just call it the billion parameter problem. See, the most powerful AI image models out there, think of things like the Flux series that the Source Research talks about. They have up to 12 billion parameters. You can think of parameters as all the little connections, kind of like the neurons in the AI's brain. It's what makes them so incredibly smart, and also what makes them ridiculously huge. So here's a good way to think about it. Cloud AI is like a giant factory. It's unbelievably powerful, sure, but it's stuck in one place. It needs a whole data center to run. And there's always that little delay, that latency, every time you send a request and have to wait for the answer. On-device AI, on the other hand, needs to be more like a pocket tool. It has to be small, it has to be instant, and it has to be totally self-contained. And let's be honest, you can't just shrink a factory down and pop it in your pocket. But what if you could? This is where a really big breakthrough enters the picture, and it's called DreamLite. This comes from the team over at the Intelligent Creation Lab at ByteDance. And DreamLite isn't just a small improvement. No, it's a completely new way of thinking about how to build an AI image model from the ground up. So, here's the crucial bit. DreamLite is what the researchers call a unified on-device model. Now, this is a first. It doesn't just generate images, and it doesn't just edit them. It does both, together, inside one compact model that lives completely on your phone. So, the big question is, how on earth did they pull it off? How did they manage to squeeze that factory-level power into a tool that fits in your pocket? Well, let's take a look at the recipe behind the magic. It really boils down to 3 brilliant innovations. First, they put the model on a super strict architectural diet. Second, they taught it this really clever side-by-side trick. And third, they trained it using a crawl, walk, run plan. Now, just look at the sheer scale of this reduction. It's wild. The researchers started with a powerful model that had 2.5 billion parameters, and they just systematically compressed it. They trimmed layers, they optimized connections, and they slimmed it all the way down to just 389 million parameters. That's a nearly 85% cut in size. It's a lean, mean, creative machine. Okay, next is that side-by-side trick, or as the paper calls it, in-context conditioning. It's actually genius in its simplicity. Instead of needing 2 separate modes, the AI just looks at 2 panels. You want a brand new image? It sees your text prompt and a blank panel. You want to edit a photo? It sees your prompt and your source photo. It's just a super elegant, simple solution to doing 2 very different things. And the training plan, this is just brilliant. To keep a model this small from getting totally confused, they didn't try to teach it everything all at once. First, it learned to crawl. It just mastered generating images from text. Then it learned to walk, focusing only on editing existing images. And only then, once it knew both, did it learn to run, perfectly combining both skills into one unified model. This progressive approach was the absolute key to making it so powerful and stable. Okay, so the theory is super clever, but does it actually work? You know, when the rubber meets the road? Let's check out the results and see how this little model stacks up against the giants. And this is where it gets kind of mind-blowing. On a standard editing test, DreamLite, at a tiny 0.39 billion parameters, scores a 4.11. Now look at the others. It completely outperforms Vibe, a model 4 times its size, and it even goes toe-to-toe with Longcat, image, which is a staggering 15 times larger. It is seriously punching above its weight. And honestly, the visual proof is just as impressive. I mean, check out the creativity here. The prompt was a whimsical storybook illustration of a cat on a horse made of newspaper clippings. It totally gets the style, the composition, and these ridiculously complex ideas all generated right there on the device. And it's not just for quirky, whimsical stuff. It can also create these absolutely breathtaking, high-fidelity landscapes. The detail in the light here, the mist, that sense of scale. I mean, this is professional-grade quality coming from a pocket-sized model. And here's the absolute kicker. Researchers tested it on a standard smartphone, a Xiaomi 14, and creating or editing a high-res 1024 by 1024 image takes less than 1 second. That is true real-time creativity, right in the palm of your hand. So what does all this actually mean? Because this isn't just another AI model. This really signals a fundamental shift in how and where we're all going to create things. The big takeaway here is that this kind of tech democratizes high-end creativity. Because it runs on your phone, it's instant. You don't need to be online. And maybe most importantly, it's private. Your photos and your craziest ideas never have to leave your device. Which really leads us to a final and pretty exciting thought. For decades, the most powerful creative tools were expensive, they were complex, and they were chained to a desk. Now, that power is about to be accessible to everyone, everywhere. So the real question isn't if we'll have an art studio in our pocket, but when we all do. What amazing, unpredictable, and beautiful things are we going to create